Let's be innovative. Let's challenge the norm. Let's raise the bar. Let's be the elite.
A new beginning, another opportunity to make a statement. Lionheart celebrates its roots with the car that started it all. 18 races to determine who is the best in the most exciting form of auto racing on the planet. 200-mile-per-hour Indy cars inches from disaster or glory. There can only be one Lionheart Speedway Series champion whose name will be etched into the Lionheart history books. The Lionheart Speedway Series presented by Moser Racing starts now.
Races to decide a champion. 2 more chances for drivers to prove themselves. 2 more chances to be able to make it to HyperX Victory Lane. And tonight, the top drivers in the Lionheart Speedway Series look to do battle in Kansas. It's a track that brings plenty of treacherous moments. It's a track that disaster can strike at any time. And if last year's race was an indication, anything can happen to determine who comes away with the victory. This is Kansas Speedway, and this is the Next Level Racing 200. Hello everyone, and welcome to race 17 of Season 2. Lionheart Speedway Series presented by Moser Racing, live on RaceSpot TV and ESTV. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX. Here's the premier gaming gear, like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud9 gaming headsets. You play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth for tonight's action is the one, the only Andrew Kinsella, along with our producer Arjuna Kekipati for tonight's action. You can follow along with live time and scoring to be able to keep up with your favorite teams and drivers. It's time to head straight to the Graphics Esports Countdown to Green As we count the ways drivers look to do battle here tonight, Andrew, 2 more races to decide the champion, and it comes down to Kansas and Auto Club. 2 very difficult tracks, 2 very different circuits for the next level racing schedule, but 2 tracks that can bring the unpredictable.
It's all getting down to the nitty-gritty here, Justin, and it's 2 very entertaining tracks, I think, is the best way to describe these 2 coming up here. We have Kansas. It's going to be side-by-side action on a 1.5-mile racetrack, but then in just over a month's time, you're looking at Auto Club and the bills and thrills that go along with that wide-open 2-mile racetrack there. Of course, double points in the finale here, so it's unlikely that we'll get any sort of resolution before that finale, unless disaster befalls one of our championship contenders here tonight. But tonight, I think these drivers are all facing this race with a little bit of trepidation, particularly our championship contenders here.
And the main thing to mention with that championship, take a look at the graphics, esports driver standings. It is tight. With the drops factored in, here's how things break down. It's about 43-44 points between Matt Taylor and Joe Branch. 73 sold back as Matt Wagner. Shane Coogan also within about 2 races distance. Trevor Malone also in the distance. Luis Gonzalez-Nunez and Mike Rigney along with Andrew Wood on the outside looking in, needing strong finishes tonight, possibly even a win to be able to try and get within 120 points. The double points total for a race victory minus the bonus points, Andrew.
Yeah, it's the quest for 120 for all of those drivers in that sort of 3rd through 6th contingent right there. But for Matt Taylor, it's all about trying to find a way to reverse the bad luck that he had at Richmond a couple of weeks ago, or last week actually. And he's got to find a way to stretch out that lead over Joe Branch just a little bit. And Joe Branch is back in the series after having to miss Richmond. He didn't lose very much ground to Matt Taylor because of Matt Taylor's bad luck. So it's all still to play for here, Justin.
Remember, 4 drop rounds calculated in entering the season finale for this series. The team standings, meanwhile, oh boy, how things have changed. For those who may have jumped in about a month ago, they were plenty different. Power Slide is still on top for now, yes, with 1,504 points. But 40 Sim Racing now up to 2nd. Dark Horse also within a solid distance back. But a very tight battle starting to form a bit for the rest of the top 5, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. 4D is coming on strong here at the end. They still have a fair bit to play with here if you're Power Slide Motorsports, but you can't be too comfortable. Again, because not only are the drivers' points doubled in the finale, but the team points are also doubled. So if you get a 1-2-3 finish in the team, or for the team in the Auto Club finale, then you're looking at potentially a 4D Sim Racing win here and snatching it right out of Power Slide Motorsports' hands.
And helpful for the drives of not only Craig Forsyth to have them a part of that group, but Samuel Ryman amongst those scoring points as of late for that respective team on the rise with its consistency again. Speaking of which, Samuel Ryman amongst the top 3 in the putt kicker rookie standings. Shane Coogan leading those rookie standings. Also the conversation is talked about for the championship, as well as Andrew Wood. Dakota DeMade also in the conversation as the top rookie this season. Fairly tight, and keep in mind, Ryman jumped Dakota DeMade last time out, Andrew.
Yeah, it was a strong race from Samuel Ryman last time out, and I think that anyone really in that top 3 still has a legitimate shot at the Rookie of the Year title. I think your best bets, though, are Shane Coogan and Andrew Wood. They've been going head-to-head, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon here for these final 2 races.
Could be a very tight battle for the rookie standings, absolutely. As that brings us over to our series details presented by GSI. And remember, cash and prizes on the line totaling about $6,930. Price with the Moser Racing Direct Drive wheelbase and Formula Rim, plus the NLR GT track cockpit, using custom fixed setups built by Andrew Kinsella in the Noir DW12. A new champion this season, a new team champion this season. Of course, the Triple Crown finale remaining the same. And that brings us into the event details presented by Moser Racing, because tonight, when it comes down to this race, this is the penultimate race once again for this series. There has been a repeat pole winner at this track or winner, should say, at the track. Pole position is never converted to HyperX victory lane. And remember, Robert Malechka III last season won what was a crazy final lap of that race. The leaders wrecked down the backstretch, and Malechka III was able to come away with the victory, passing them as they slammed to the inside wall.
The racing here at Kansas is always fast, it's always furious, and it's always unpredictable. The draft plays such a huge component here, and it will again tonight. And it just goes to show that you can't really take anything for granted at a race like this. Even on that last lap, things can change and change again. So these drivers are going to be wheeling it for all 133 of the laps here to come.
And keep in mind, when Malechka III won the race last season, he was the furthest back race winner at this track, 21st position. That's how far he had to charge for this 133-lap, 200-mile event. Final practice is underway for our drivers tonight. Preparation is underway. Matt Taylor at the top of the board currently for the session, 25.146. Most along with Dean Mull, Matthew Short, Ron Hacker, current top 5 in practice. But when it comes to this race tonight, let's talk about the expectations of what type of racing we'll see, Andrew. What type of action will we see from the setup you built?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of drafting, particularly early on. It's going to be a hornet's nest that these drivers are going to have to contend with. The setup will fall off towards the end of a stint just a little bit. You're going to start to see things string out probably around lap 20, 25 or so. It'll get more and more difficult to drive, and drivers will have to be especially wary of that outside wall because it comes up so fast here at Kansas Speedway. This is a 3-lane racetrack all the way around. You can get 3 wide, but you don't want to be pushing it much more than that. We've seen 4 wide attempted here in the past, and it's ended in disaster numerous times.
Take a look at your top driver in practice and your top drivers throughout the entire season. The points leader, Matt Taylor, he doesn't have the most top 10s of the season, but keep in mind, there have been 2 things Taylor have done well, Andrew. Bonus points and wins. 4 wins, 29 bonus points entering the night.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Taylor has always put himself up near the front of the field lap after lap, race after race. It's just that he has had a little bit of issues finishing some of these races, and that's why he doesn't have the top 10s. It's 9 for Matt Taylor, but Joe Branch, your second place contender, he has 12 top 10s on the season, and that's what's put him up in contention still for this title here. With only 44 points between them, Joe Branch is by no means out of this title fight.
Drivers just about all set to get their way to qualifying. 5 minutes, 2 laps of solo qualifying for tonight here at Kansas Speedway. It's a facility in the heart of Kansas City, Kansas. It's Sports District, the nearby casino, but you also have the nearby stadiums set up just along the way. Look closely around turns 3 and 4. Drivers just about all set to go for the qualifying session. 4 drivers will be a part of tonight's EOL club for race control. Joe Hassert, as well as joining that club, Trevor Malone, Ryan Eric King, Tony Schowen, all to start the back tonight. Big for Schowen since he needs points.
Yeah, Schowen has not had the season that he was hoping for and that we saw from him last year. Last year, of course, he was a title contender right up until the end of the season, but this year it's been much more of an up-and-down season, and unfortunately it's just another setback for Schowen going into here today. But I think he's going to be all about trying to find a way to help his teammate Joe Branch with his title fight here today and for the rest of the season.
Let's take a look at Gavin Sanders. Break down how you would qualify for this race tonight.
Yeah, so for me, it's all about lap 2. You're going to stay up nice and high, just like Gavin Sanders is doing through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 on your first lap here. It's basically all about winding the car up, getting that momentum, cut down maybe just a little bit more than Sanders is doing right now, just to try and travel the shortest distance, keep up as much momentum as possible. Then I would be diving down. I'd actually be going right to that apron there and rejoining the circuit right here into turn 1 just before you have to turn back in. Try to go the shortest distance possible. Sanders is trying the momentum approach here. He goes right out to the wall. I'd probably stay a little bit tighter here, try to shorten the distance again. He's coming right down the inside line. This is good second lap here, but I don't think it's going to be the fastest. Really take to this apron. I think it's a late entry. I would have gone to that apron a little bit sooner than Sanders, but not a bad lap overall from last week's winner.
25.5, Matthew Short with the 25.6, Creighton Carter as well, just bumping him up about a tenth of a second difference between the first and second lap for them. Here's a look at Nick DeGroot. Groot's shown some good qualifying speed this season, gets up to the 25.4s with that respective lap. And keep in mind when it comes to some of the battles expected for tonight, we were expecting things to be very tight early on. The track position could be valuable to be able to get in position for when things might break away.
Yeah, I think what you want to be is either up near the front or back near the back. I don't think you want to be sort of in that middle of the pack, because that's where the action always tends to happen in starts like this, and you can easily find yourself wrapped up in somebody else's mess. So particularly if you're the championship contenders like Joe Branch, like Matt Taylor, you're definitely going to be looking for a good qualifying effort here.
Good qualifying effort from Gabe Wood for JD Esports. 6/1000th of a second back from DeGroot. Look at James Watson, his second lap, a 26 flat. His last lap didn't even count, should say. Keep an eye on this 9 car, though. Jacob's been very quick as of late, as we've seen his resurgence the second half of the season. He picked up 3 spots in the points last race alone.
Yeah, and Oster knows how to qualify. It's not a bad lap. I think he's going to be just a little bit mad that he wasn't able to go just that little bit quicker like his teammate Nick DeGroot did. But here's one of our championship contenders, Justin. This is Joe Branch. This is a very important lap for that number 28 car.
Keeping an eye to see on if the Bumblebee can strike and be able to charge up to the top of the board. First time around, a 27-1, the slowest out of any first lap so far. The second lap will have to contend with Michael Goodman. It's a 25.5. That gets him into the top 10 of the least. But Michael Goodman, the qualifying king, is at the top of the board. Michael Goodman, 6 poles this season.
6 poles and looking pretty good to be 7 here, Justin. But we do have some big hitters still left to go. It looks like Matt Wagner is just starting his second lap. So is Matt Taylor. So we're about to see whether Goodman will be able to make that a 7th straight pole here.
Brian Beard, top 3. Jump ahead of Gabe Wood. There's one of the drivers to watch for here. This is Matt Taylor. Matt Taylor trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack to get up at 2:15. Not good enough for pole. It's good enough for the top 8 for him this time. Down to about 30 seconds to go in the session. Jim Herrick, meanwhile, keeping up his times. Gets himself up to one of his better starts of the season. Which the heavy hitters have completed their sessions. Goodman, DeGroot, Beard, DeMade, Wood. Currently the lineup, but Andrew Wood looking to try and join his fellow last name brethren. Can Andrew Wood get himself in the conversation for the pole? No. Another 25.5. That puts him outside the top 10 to close out the session. Fairly close qualifying session, especially in the heart of the pack. But tonight, the qualifying king this season, Michael Goodman, in what's his 14th start, picks up pole number 7 here at Kansas. How will the driver start off behind him? Let's find out your starting grid, brought to you by Butt Kicker. Nick DeGroot starts in second, just pipping Brian Beard. Dakota DeMade just able to pip by Gabriel Wood for the top 5 spots. Jim Herrick rounds out your top 6. 7th spot tonight, behind them is Craig Forsyth, the Lomadine Mall, Origins Auto, and Tyler Graff. Again, a solid qualifying performance, starting in 10th. Andrew Wood and Ron Hacker round out the top 12, with Matt Taylor, the championship leader, middle of the field in 13th. Mike Rigney, most miles turned so far in 14th. Joe Branch, Matt Wagner, Dick Moster, and Ricky Harden, your top 18. 19th goes to Shane Coogan, one of your top rookies this season. Creighton Carter in 20th. Paul Jenkins, Gavin Sanders, Cody Wenson, along with Matthew Short, your top 24. One final driver set a qualifying time. James Watson, invalidated second lap time, starts in 25th. The rest of the drivers are part of the EOL club or the Did Not Set a Time club. Tony Showen, Jeff Hyson, along with Trevor Malone, Samuel Ryman, Joe Hassard, and rounding out the field is Gary Godsoe. Let's look top to bottom at your running order. 31 drivers making their way on the Yellow Brick Road to Kansas Speedway. As the drivers line themselves up for tonight's action, plenty to look forward to, Andrew. 31 drivers to battle for an ultimate race of the season. On that note, it's time to look at your featured onboard cameras for tonight's action, starting with extreme scoring on board with Samuel Ryman. Complete league management software. Visit extremescoring.info. Ricky Harding carrying the Moser Racing on board tonight. Defining sim racing. Go further, go faster with Moser Racing. Visit moserracing.com. And for the outside pole with the HyperX on board, it's Nick DeGroot. Where you play, however you play, HyperX knows all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. Look at your featured onboard cameras for tonight's action. Andrew, your keys to victory for what's expected to be an exciting one for the ultimate race of the season.
Number one thing, Justin, is keeping your nose clean. There's going to be a lot of action, particularly early on, and you have to make sure that you're not a part of it, that you're doing everything you can to maximize your position without putting yourself at risk. And then you have to also be on top of your strategy here. We know that the strategy is always in play here at these 1.5-mile ovals.
133 laps up on the board today. Cool track conditions of 101 degrees Fahrenheit, 71 air temp. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart, and this is the Next Level Racing 200. We're underway from Kansas. Michael Goodman leads them to the stripe. You're 3 wide in the battle for the race lead for a moment. Brian Beard taking the high side, Gabe Wood on the bottom line. The group taking the middle line of the early going as drivers stay packed together in that fight for second.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a checkup back in the field on the start, but it was all really clean and good so far. But you can see the hornet's nest that's already starting to form. Drivers are starting to just search out, see where they're fast, see where they can make some time up. Brian Beard's looking on that 3 wide position already early on in the going here.
So far, so solid for the leader of the race, Goodman, along the bottom of the racetrack. Now already a top line forming the group. Getting freight trained, however, down the straights with the bottom line. Goodman trying to stay all the way to the low line. Dakota DeMay trying to find his way in front of the group.
Yeah, right now that low line is just rolling, and it's led by Michael Goodman, your pole sitter. He knows how to drive around here, and he's leading this line. DeGroot's now gotten onto the low side as well now, and it looks like DeMade might be the one shuffled out.
See that right now with how things are playing out. DeMade trying the top, can't clear by Craig Forsyth. Forsyth already up 3 spots in the span of 4 laps in this race. But Gabe Wood, he wants to lead. Gabe Wood trying to move to the middle line, trying to get to the lead for one of the first times this season for Eric Spanky.
Oh, it's interesting to see who has the patience and who's really turning on the jets here, and Gabe Wood is certainly not exercising much patience right now. He sees Michael Goodman in the lead, and he wants that lead.
Wood trying to give a bit of a squeeze, you see on board from Craig Forsyth. A grand total of 6 laps led for Gabe Wood coming into tonight, moving to the bottom. Here comes DeMade, though, the top starting to gain a little bit of ground now. Couple of corners. Wood, though, still getting the tow for the leader.
A 2x2 basically from 4th on back here in this field, Justin. It's only the leaders that are sort of getting strung out, and even now it looks like DeMade to the high side of Wood here, so we're doing some formation flying here early on in this race.
The expectation to around 15 laps in. Firestones would pick up a little bit of rubber. Forsyth trying to battle it out with Brian Beard all the way to the bottom. They're using the banking, though, to clear on by the blue and white machine. Nick DeGroot, you see, has also found a hole on the bottom line. Andrew Wood already up to the top 8 on the top line as well.
Yeah, Andrew Wood's been on the move as well as his namesake, Gabe Wood at the front. Wood has been slicing and dicing his way through the field, but we've got to move potentially for the lead here. Gabe Wood was looking to the inside of Goodman through that turn 3 area.
It got a little bit feisty, we'll say. This already getting feisty. Gabe Wood wanting to get up to the point. Let's take a look in the bottom corner on board in the heart of the pack. And just look how aggressive some of the drivers are getting a bit in the midst of the snake.
And it's all about timing here for these drivers in the back of the pack because you can't go too far, so you really have to be cognizant of where you are, your ability to change lanes and see which lane's going and which one's not. Right now, looks like the outside lane's checked up just a little bit, and it's interesting to watch some of these drivers bail out, but then some of the others will just quickly be taking their spots on that outside line, and it'll build up that momentum again.
All that example you're seeing in the corner, by the way. Wood still holding on to second place, meanwhile, ending lap 10 this time by. Early goings of this run, the top line again losing momentum. One driver who is picking up a lot of ground as a result of the changing of the lines and cutting their way forward. Not just Gabe Wood, but a few others. We'll get to that as Gabe Wood tries to get to the race lead on the outside with the run. Can't complete it.
Just not quite enough momentum at this stage. You can tell that Goodman's tires are definitely still working well on that low line, but it does look like the low line's starting to suffer just a little bit. Because you're looking all the way back to Craig Forsyth and Matt Taylor before anyone's really on that low line again. So the tires are starting to go away from these drivers. Lap 12, lap 13 at this point.
Only Goodman that time down the back straightaway up on the low line. Most of the drivers along the wall there. Keep in mind, the only driver inside the top 10 of the bottom line, the one who's been slicing through the pack with the bottom, Matt Taylor. See him in the blue and heelish blue machine. Up on the bottom trying to pick off drivers one by one in the pack. +4.
Yeah, Matt Taylor has been doing a real solid job here. He's been staying nice and safe on that bottom lane. He hasn't really put himself in much danger, but he's just been picking up positions as the drivers in front of him have sort of gotten out of his way, trying to make that high line work. So Matt Taylor's just surfing that low line, and you can really roll it even as the tires start to go off when what happens to Matt Taylor is happening to him, because basically he's got a nice pocket of clean air for probably about a second and a half there up to the lead of the race.
He's got some dirty air to deal with. The aero wash coming from Andrew Wood up on the bottom as well. Wood, however, losing ground. Taylor showcasing what he can do nearly into the wall, able to slice his way to the top, though, to take advantage of some momentum swings.
Yeah, nearly a miscalculation there from Matt Taylor, but I think he was just able to stay out of that wall. But Wood, I think he saw what Matt Taylor was doing, tried to replicate it, but definitely the bottom of this racetrack is starting to go away from these drivers.
Wood still trying the top line. He's been able to get alongside, but not able to get a run fully around Goodman. What does Gabe Wood need to do to get around Goodman?
It's really difficult at this point because Goodman is the one driver with so much clean air, so he's really able to keep his tires in it. He's able to keep his car on that bottom line just because he has more downforce than any other driver on this circuit right now. So it's really, really difficult if you're in Gabe Wood's position to really create anything. If I'm Gabe Wood, I have to be sort of just biding my time, letting the race happen, and then watching Michael Goodman's tires, see what's going on with his car, see if he starts to come up off the bottom just a little bit, and see if there's an opportunity for me to maybe dive down and take advantage of that.
We're seeing from a couple different drivers how aggressive some of the blocks got in the early going just a few laps ago. Starting to approach the spread out point expected for tonight. Keep in mind as Wood changes to the bottom. There's a look at the top train again. Wood has made his way back up to the top. Dean Mull there. Nick DeGroot shuffled out yet again in the factory back car. He's a -5 so far, make it near -6 with Taylor alongside.
Yeah, as Nick DeGroot hits the apron there, so he's compounding his issues where he had some clean air, and I think it turned just a little bit too good for him there through turn 2. Hit the apron, and that's costing him another couple of positions.
Had to nearly slam on the brakes there. Meanwhile, Moser Racing, onboard driver tonight, is Joel Hassert. 18 starts in his career. Lionheart Speedway Series, 6 top 10s, 3 top 3s. It's very noteworthy to mention him. With the EOL, he's already up 10 spots in the pack.
Yeah, and this is fairly typical of a Joe Hassert race at a draft track like this. He loves this type of racing where he can slice and dice his way through the field. This is where he's at his strongest and is most comfortable, and it's shown with the progress that he's made so far in this 20-lap race.
Looking in the battles just outside the top 10. Still there, Joe Branch there, but Paul Jenkins also there, trying to run the top. You can see just how aggressive a couple of the drivers may start to get here with trying to get to that top groove. We've seen it already once or twice.
Yeah, and Branch is about the only one who is determinedly staying to that bottom lane. And I think the problem for Branch right now is it's working for him in the corners, but it's not working so well on the straightaways where he just doesn't have a draft. So he's losing 4 or 5 miles an hour to his competitors on the straight, even if he's gaining some of it back in the corners with the fresh air that he's getting.
Look up to the front again. Wood still getting to the rear tire, but not getting the runs he wants. Goodman still hugging the short way around the racetrack. But banking, Wood trying to use the banking as a ramp this time to build up his run.
Yeah, and you have to find a way to build up your momentum if you're Gabe Wood. The tricky part for Wood is that he's got DeMade right behind him. If he can back up DeMade just a little bit, he might be able to slot in behind Goodman for a little bit here and properly get a run on him. And I think that's really his next shot at it. As I say that, though, DeMade tries the inside of Wood, so he's not going to let him do that. Meanwhile, Andrew Wood is also into this battle here. He's worked his way up to 4th.
Up 7, McIntyre up 8. Made wasn't able to clear in 1 and 2, has lost his spot on the top line, and now the Woods able to go 2-3 on the racetrack. 109 laps to go. You can already just see some of the antsiness, though, to be able to find holes in the pack. There's another example. Nick DeCaroon has done that twice, where the second the lane opens, he goes up to the top and forces the driver behind to check out.
Yeah, and it's a dangerous game playing that. If you do that too often, one of these times it's going to come back to bite you. And if you're the car moving, it can very easily end up with you in that outside wall there. So it's just one of those things where you have to pick your places, you have to pick your battles, and determine whether it's a good idea to make moves like that, particularly this early on in a race.
Andrew Wood quickly starting to gain back ground on Gabe Wood. Pressing the pack a little bit as it starts to become a choo-choo train for the most part along the top line. There are the potential of sliders, though, it's worth noting. Keep an eye, for example, on the 9. Last time he sent it, this time didn't. So there is the potential of, if you're able to clear Andrew, you can pull off the slide job.
Yeah,
stock car style.
Absolutely, and particularly when the bottom of the track is consistently being left as open as it can, or as it is right now, you can really, if you time it right, do a good job of getting through turn 1 and 2 on the bottom if you're in a position like Jacob Oster in that number 9 car. But you have to be so precise on your timing, and you have to be confident that you can clear them by the exit of the corner, otherwise you're going backwards.
Still, Gabe Wood not backing off on Goodman. He's nearly alongside this time, however. Will that be the difference he's looking for? Andrew Wood in the popcorn seat. Yes, his car's a Zamboni, in his opinion. But right now it's not pushing like a Zamboni, I will say, with the aero.
It does have a little bit of aero push at this point if you're Andrew Wood, particularly when you're following right in the back wheel tracks of Gabe Wood. Look to the inside here. Matt Taylor, he's not content to just sit around in this top 5. He's looking to join this battle and potentially come straight up towards the front here. He's gotten around Dakota DeMade now.
And paying the price from moving his way to the bottom and not able to make a pass. Andrew Wood just got passed down the straightaway by Matt Taylor, you've seen a bit during the tri-oval. Ryan Beard under attack by Dean Mall as well, as Beard starting to slow up, but Dean Mall can't clear. There goes the slider effect talked about with Nick DeGroot now.
And you can see that now that the tires are starting to go off, it's starting to create a lot more insecurity with these drivers. As Dean Mall actually goes to the apron there, he's not going to be able to advance his position on the apron. That is a rule for Lionheart here. So the apron is only really open on the final lap of the race. But yeah, this is where it starts to get dicey, and you see Matt Taylor, he's looking 3 wide here for the lead for a second there. That's an interesting strategy from your championship leader. He's not just sitting back here. He really wants to take the bull by the horns.
Thought about 3 wide for a moment, it looked like. Instead takes the very top line. Wood takes middle. Goodman takes bottom. And Goodman is starting to plow off the bottom of the racetrack, it looks like, out of turn 2.
And so the question is, will one of these drivers actually be able to do sort of a crossover maneuver? You can see Matt Taylor from that outside line. He's, to me, the likely candidate to try that crossover maneuver. And in fact, he does on Gabe Wood right now, and that's going to put him up in a second place. A really nice move there from Taylor, from the top side to the bottom, coming down the straightaway.
And Gabe Wood gave him a break as well. Lifted off the throttle out of turn 2. Matt Taylor up 11 now. Now looks to battle with Michael Goodman, who's led the whole race so far. We're approaching the first pit stop window, the fuel window tonight in clean air, expected to be about 39 to 41.
Yeah, we're definitely getting into that time where drivers are going to...
Look at
that move from Matt Taylor.
A perfect cross. Matt Taylor with the run takes the lead. Gabe Wood jumps up to second with it. What a nice move from Taylor. The first one to rip away. Goodman from the bottom as Goodman gets the run back for second.
That was just such an impressive thing, and he did exactly what we said. He started on the high side, went low, and he saw Michael Goodman coming up. There was just a sliver of light there for Taylor to put his car in, and he did, and it was just a spectacular move there. That's why he's leading the championship, is making moves like that.
Wood starting to get even more antsy now. He wants to go, but Taylor is feeding the draft to Goodman. No draft for Gabe Wood. Now he continues to try and get himself slicing and dicing. By the way, you mentioned the apron rule. A warning has been issued to Cody Wenson for that. Gabe Wood this time getting the draft from Matt Taylor down the back straightaway. It's up to second. There'll be an attempt to pass back, not this time.
And this is the difficult part when you're leading, is trying to decide who you're going to give draft to, and you kind of want to try to pit the drivers behind you against each other, as Goodman, now that he's in the dirty air, is starting to fall through this field here. I think his tires, from spending so much time trying to hold that inside, the tires are just gone for him at this point. He's just going to be hoping for either caution or that first pit stop to come sooner rather than later.
Goodman getting completely driven around on the outside by some of the factory back machines. Dakota DeMaine again struggling out of the corner. He's also burned up the tires. And Goodman's coming in. Goodman, who led the opening 30-plus laps, is coming in to open up the pit window for the first time today.
Of course, you use up so much more fuel when you're out there leading than you do when you're in the draft, because you're the one who's breaking the air for everyone else. Everyone else has got a little bit of a buffer to break that wind resistance, but you didn't, so that's the price that Michael Goodman paid there. But meanwhile, we still have this battle on track, Gabe Wood and Andrew Wood. But look at Jacob Oster in that number 9 car. Oh, I think Gabe Wood is coming on to pit lane this time by.
He backed it down and then some, it looked like, though, Andrew. He was slowing up midway down the backstretch for a moment.
Yes, and this is a tricky pit in here, Justin, where you basically have to slow down on the banking, and then at some point while you're slowing down, transition from the banking to that flat of the apron, and it's a tricky thing to do, and the best drivers can do it at speed, but sometimes it's just better to have that control and not put yourself in a dangerous situation there.
More pit stops, no flying cones yet. DeMaine, Beard, Ron Hacker coming in this time. More pit calls coming up from the heart of the pack, as well as from several drivers up towards the front. Indication yet from the race leader. In fact, the pit party coming out in full force, including for Andrew Wood. Matt Taylor now ducks in.
Yeah, the two factory back drivers, Jacob Oster and Nick DeGroot, are staying out, but it's pretty much everyone else in your top 10 have come down pit lane. Maybe Craig Forsyth as well, but it is definitely a parade down pit entry here.
No black flags on that entry for those drivers. No speeding penalties yet today. Take a look at the factory back machines up at the front. There goes one. And the other tries to send it a little bit deep and nearly misses it.
Yeah, that was a really quick entry there from Oster. I think he might have just gotten it slowed down, but it will be a tricky thing. Nope,
he's got a black flag.
Just another mistake from Jacob Oster, and this has really characterized his season, Justin, is he puts himself in a decent position, but then he makes a small mistake, whether it's on pit entry, whether it's getting involved in the wrong fight, and he just hasn't been able to put together really full races yet.
And he was flying in there, nearly missed the entire cone. And attacking to from his spotter today, Christopher Demerit for sure. Meanwhile, Matt Taylor passing by those coming out of the pit lane has cycled behind Nick DeGroot currently for the time being, Andrew Wood and Tyler Graff on the racetrack. DeGroot, in fact, jumping ahead with the overcut by about a few tenths of a second. How long does that advantage last, though? Tyler Graff is now the leader on the net strategy and now takes it officially.
And that was a really solid pit cycle there from Tyler Graff. He moved up from basically running in sort of that 10th, 11th position all the way up into the lead of the race now. But crucially for the championship battle here, Justin, Joe Branch is fighting with George Anzaldo for that 10th, 11th position, but they are not in the draft of this lead group here right now. They are trailing off the back end, so this is big for the championship from Joe Branch's perspective. He needs to find a way to get back on the back of this leading pack.
And keep in mind, even with the math and the fuel save, it may still be a two-stopper if it goes green. Keep that in mind. Graff, DeGroot, Goodman, Andrew Wood, Dakota DeMade, the top five. The safe pit entry we talked about with Gabe Wood has put him at the end of the lead pack in 8th.
Yeah, but he's still well within the lead pack, so I think it's job done there for Gabe Wood. Got through that pit cycle, and all he has to do right now is maybe save a little bit of fuel here, because if it does turn into a fuel mileage race, he's definitely on the back foot so far. Not quite as bad as Michael Goodman, but at the same time, now is the time to make some fuel if you're Gabe Wood. Now is the time to save and see how far you can stretch it on this stint.
Pack has a 1 second buffer over a majority of the field. Dumo has his own pack for now by 9/10. The rest of the field stagnated by about 6-7 car lengths apiece for those curious. Already approaching lap 50. And again, we talked about in length the speed Tyler Graff has showcased since jumping into the Speedway Series a few months ago, should say now. With those 2 victories early in the season, qualifying has been a major thing that's been a driver for the current race leaders' momentum swings.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tyler Graff, he's just, as you say, been so impressive since he joined this series. I think this has really been the type of racing that suits his style, is what we have here in the Speedway Series. And he's really shown some good moves here. But the factory back driver, Nick DeGroot, he's not letting him off easy. He's not letting him just lead here. He's putting Graff under a fairly significant amount of pressure here.
Gordon Maid trying to find a way around Andrew Wood, meanwhile, can't for the time being. Here's the look from Tyler Graff's perspective. Graphics LC Madworks machine. Trying to play the same card as Michael Goodman, Nick DeGroot, saying, I will play that card too and follow you down there.
Yeah, and the interesting part here is I think all of these drivers right now, they're starting to run the numbers. They're starting to realize what they have to do in order to get to the finish line on one more stop here. So it'll be interesting to see just how much some of these drivers want to lead, how some of them want to follow. I think Graff has realized, just as I'm saying that, I think he wants to let someone else lead. I just don't think that anyone else behind him wants to lead.
Especially since the difference we're already seeing up to 4 laps today. DeMade was one of the drivers who burned up the tires, as well as Goodman. Now you're at this point, what do you do not only to save the fuel, but also save the tires to make sure you don't have the struggles like we've seen with the 82.
Yeah, so what DeMade is doing right now is he's just peeking down a half a car width in the corners here, trying to find some clean air, but still keeping most of his car in the draft of the car in front of you. So that lets you keep the draft going, keep the car wound up without using too much fuel, but at the same time, having the clean air creates more downforce, and it also means that you don't put so much energy through those tires. So that he's doing exactly what he needs to do there.
By the way, you mentioned, does anybody want to lead? Michael Goodman gave the bottom run a shot, was given that run, with Tyler Graff taking the top. Now back to the race lead we see with Andrew Wood taking advantage for a spot. It seems Michael Goodman wants to be the leader.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that is Goodman, he's on really shaky ground in terms of fuel. I don't think that he can really try to make it in one more stop. I think it'd be too big of an ask for him to do the laps that he need to do, because he would basically need to do 48 lap stints both times, which is just too much. So I think he's comfortable leading, but what he needs right now, Justin, is a caution to come out and get everyone back on cycle.
Andrew Wood able to slice his way up to the front. Now Michael Goodman slices his way right on back on the bottom. Back and forth they go. The swap draft a bit coming in.
Yeah, I think these two are working together a little bit. And speaking of the swap draft, Joe Branch, George Anzaldo, Dean Mull, they all hooked up, and they are now back on the back of this leading pack here. So it's your top 11 now, but crucially that brings Joe Branch back in contact with Matt Taylor, and he needs to be able to stay in this pack going forward and stay in contact with his championship contender there.
Main pack now has 11 drivers. Gavin Sanders, the first of the second pack, is nearly 2 full seconds plus adrift from this. Then Joe Hassard's another 7/10. So already the separation coming in. Give credit to Joe Hassard. Become the leader of what's becoming the mega second pack. 17 spots gained today.
And when we saw that Joe Hassard's name was on the EOL chart, I sort of predicted that this would be something that can happen. Again, he's really, really comfortable in this draft situation, and it just goes to show he likes slicing his way through the field, but he also is really good at leading the pack as well, knows what to do, knows how to make some time here. I suspect that what he really wants to do is get well and truly in the draft of that number 10 in front of him of Gavin Sanders, bring the final car back into that second pack, and then set about going after this leading pack here.
Some of the separation, some of the different lines utilizing the back of the pack, most of the field taking the choo-choo train effect up once the fourth on back cars once again. I mentioned how important this would be of a race for Joe Branch. He's trying to find a way around Taylor, can't do it, and now loses a couple spots for his effort.
And I think Joe Branch, if I'm Joe, I just want to see where Matt Taylor is, and after that, I'm surprised that he's still sticking to that bottom lane. I think he really needs to just slot in line here, save as much fuel as he possibly can, and see what happens with the fuel strategy.
You see the run built up by Taylor, able to save the fuel at the back end of Gabe Wood. Now keep in mind, we've talked about this at length throughout the season, but again, this is relevant again when it comes to Goodman. It has been a nightmarish time whenever Goodman's been on the pole. Again, the poles for him: Texas, DNF; Atlanta, 15, was the leader before caution; Kentucky, DNF; Indy, DNF; New Hampshire, DNF; Iowa, DNF. And we also mentioned this is his best race of the season at 43 laps led, and is quickly approaching his top total from that 48 from New Hampshire.
Yeah, it has not been a good season for Michael Goodman when he starts on pole, and unfortunately for him, he started on pole so many times that it's turned into a not good season overall. But the thing for me today with Michael Goodman is I'm not sure that he's got the strategy quite right here. He's a driver who really likes to lead. He likes to put his foot down and just go lap after lap. He's not a big fuel saver. And I think it might come back to bite him here if the race continues the way that it's trending right now.
The train effect still playing out, by the way, in the heart of the top 10. How things are playing out, we're coming up to the halfway point of the race here from Kansas Speedway. More coverage coming up. The next level racing 200. You're watching RaceSpot and ESTV. My Racing Virtual Kansas Speedway.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome back, everyone, to Kansas Speedway for more coverage of the Next Level Racing 200 Lionheart Speedway Series presented by Mojo Racing. Michael Goodman, still the Pied Piper, now with a season-high 51 laps led. Andrew Wood, Tyler Graff, Nick DeGroot, and Dakota DeBade. Prince Andrew Cancel with you with producer Arjuna Kankapati. Make our way towards the second pit stop window of the race. 11 drivers in the main pack, working themselves around the racetrack, separated by 1.5 seconds. Second pack, keep in mind, is closing. Help Joe Hassard and Gavin Sanders. Lots that can happen here, but especially when it comes to the strategy roulette, Andrew. Fuel, a talking point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very telling here. Probably in the next 20 laps, we're going to be able to know who's going to make it and who isn't going to be able to make it on one more stop. That is, of course, assuming that it all goes green right now. But as you say, it's all sort of in flux right now. The second pack is coming in, and these leaders who are fuel saving maybe right now, they can't afford to be resting on their laurels, and you can see that in the urgency that Matt Taylor is exhibiting right now. He's started to slice his way through this leading pack. He was sort of content to ride in that 8th, 9th position. Now he's up into the top 5.
Absolutely been an intriguing run, especially for Matt Taylor. His second half pace of these runs in some of the best performing runs of this race so far. There's the run for third, speaking of which, heels Tyler Graff off the wall. And Taylor has been able to do this for his Lionheart career, especially in retro, but more so this season in Speedway. But for the race lead, Andrew Wood wanted it. Backed off as Goodman slammed the door in front of him, and here comes Taylor for the cross.
Yeah, when Wood had to lift there, that opened the door there for Matt Taylor, and he is going straight to the front here, Justin. He's not wasting any time. He's probably going to put a similar move on here. He's going to try and get to the inside line Goodman covers him off there, but I think it's only a matter of time before Matt Taylor finds a way around that number 99 car again.
All the way to the safer barrier. Not able to build up the run yet. Remember, the first time he took the lead, he did it on a crossover. Final 7 laps of the first run of this race. Remember, the green light to make it on fuel, about 43, 44 laps. One driver made it 44 without a speeding penalty, Paul Jenkins. Everybody else, 43 and under. Keep that in mind as we reach 56 to go.
Yeah, so it's really going to be difficult for these drivers to find a way to save the fuel that they need to make it on one more stop. So you're looking at some drivers maybe making, I think Paul Jenkins, as you say, is potentially on track, but he's got to find a way to save just a little bit more fuel here on this next stint. But it's going to be close. It's going to be close for a number of drivers. So the drivers who can't make it, though, the likes of Michael Goodman, who came down that lap 40 area, they're just hoping for a caution and hoping that their competitors aren't as good at fuel saving as they can be.
This was around the lap he came in last time, but he's the leader. He has to come in again. 39 laps, both stints so far for Goodman. He will not make it to the end on gas, needs one more stop.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to be an interesting time for Goodman. If I'm Goodman here, I'm definitely going to try and maybe take a lighter fuel load here, see what happens, because you're already committed to this next stop. You might as well maximize the race pace that you can have here. Meanwhile, in all of that kerfuffle with Goodman coming into the pits, it's allowed the second pack to close up, and now we have one giant pack again just as we get into our second round of pit stops.
Pack is 19 cars thick now. Origins Auto amongst those trying to battle here in this pack along the bottom. You want spots. Big checkup from Nick DeGroot, not able to find a hole though, as more indications coming in for pit stops.
It'll be Hassert coming down this time by surely, just because of how much fuel he would have had to have burned trying to drag that pack up. Oh, and Hassert spins on pit entry. This could be a caution.
Oh, and he hits
Ryman too.
Samuel Ryman slides it back into the 11. Both cars with damage. Ryman tows it. Hassert going to the box.
Absolute calamity on pit entry there, Justin.
And Samuel Ryman, who was in contention for the most miles of the season, might have his worst finish of the year. Couple drivers at the back of the pack came in this time. Taylor Wood leading the pack. Here's a look at the side-by-side to made in Nick DeGroot. Groot. The momentum at the top. More pit calls coming in from this pack. Ranch, Beard, several more.
So all of these drivers, again, it's just going to be too far for them to make it. It's going to be 50 laps here. So you're looking at another stop for all of these drivers as well.
Cameron Ryman, mandatory repairs as a result of the contact now in. Wood, Beard, DeMade, Gabe Wood should say, coming in this time around as there go the others. Here's what happened to Big Joe Hassert though.
He was just too hot, wasn't he, Justin? And then Sam Ryman, he was also really, really hot coming in, but he's got his brakes locked up, going straight for Joe Hassert, unlocks the brakes at the last second, but they still come together, and the march of Joe Hassert that we were witnessing is unfortunately come to an end here. He's going to be 2 laps down at least if he's able to continue.
Meanwhile, George Soto, Andrew Wood, Matt Taylor that time. Nick DeGroot trying to stretch it, but 43 laps last time. Has no draft to work with 25 sixes. Behind them, Matt Wagner, Mike Rigney, Matthew Short, Jeff Hyson coming in this time. As there goes Tyler Graff. 9.5 seconds stop. Most drivers taking that mark. Only Joe Hassert a wing change so far.
And so I think this puts paid to anyone who is trying to make it. I think that you really needed to make it to lap 88 if you were going to make it. Oh, big trouble coming into the pits there.
Cody Wenson in the middle of the grass. Nearly rejoins the track into Ricky Harden. Able to make it to pit lane though, but that is a black flag because, yeah.
That was an unsafe pit entry if I've ever seen one, Justin.
Groot, Herrick, Hardin, Winston came in. Michael Goodman battling with Dakota DeMaine at the head of the pack. These drivers made it 40 and 42 laps respectively. While in the case of Winston, there's coming in hot and there is coming in like a rocket.
Yeah, that he was never slowing down enough for that. He was about 25, 30 miles an hour too quick coming into pit lane. That was nearly disastrous as well for I believe that was one of the factory back drivers, I think Nick Groot. So that was near disaster there for the 89 as well.
Speaking of Groot, he's in 5th spot now after things have shuffled out. Here is the thing. The numbers are not lining up, Andrew. This might be a splash and dash race.
And it'll be interesting to see, Justin, who filled their tanks all the way full on this last stop and who short filled so that they get sort of 2 more equal stints here. And then the other question is, if you're going to splash and dash, do you take tires if you only have maybe 10 laps to go? There are a lot of permutations that these drivers have got to figure out here over this final portion of the race.
Top 4, you may have noticed, have picked up a small buffer over, well, 2 and 3 wide behind them. Joe Branch is leading that second group with DeGroot, Dean Mull, Gavin Sanders in the conversation. Drivers who have pulled away, Goodman, DeMaine, Taylor, and Andrew Wood. There's Joe Branch, though, getting freight trained on the bottom.
And that second group is right on the edge of losing touch with that first group. I think they still have a sniff of the draft, but they're going to have to work together. And right now, there's a little bit of a indecision of who's going to lead this pack, and it's costing them time here. Time they can't afford to lose right now.
On board Gabe Wood. By the way, indication from the strategies from the pit stops. The only drivers with issues during this pit cycle, outside of Cody Winston, who has parked it. Joe Hassard, as mentioned, the wing change for the contact with Samuel Ryman, also out. George Anzotto had to change both wings, a 24-second stop in his pit stop, so he is nearly a lap down. Everybody else is in the midst of this hornet's nest, inside the top 15, side by side for the lead. Wood, Andrew Wood, to the bottom.
And the pack is starting to come back together. The drivers in that second pack sorted themselves out, and Dean Mull and Gavin Sanders did a good job getting them all back in touch with the lead of this race. And that'll be a breath of relief there for Joe Branch, because it will keep Matt Taylor in his sights, but it really doesn't look like Joe Branch is that comfortable making positions here. Matt Taylor, on the other hand, has been incredibly comfortable at completing passes, so I think advantage, at least for right now, in your championship battle to Matt Taylor here. I like where he is much more than I do where Joe Branch is at this point in the race.
We've talked a lot about the charge from Joe Hassel from EOL land. How about the charge of the blue blur you see on left side screen? Joining the battle now for third, that's Trevor Malone. He also was a part of the EOL club. He is up 25 spots after starting at the tail.
He might not have done as much work as Joe Hassard did to close up this gap, but he's taking advantage of it now, and he definitely seems to know how to get towards the front of a pack. I don't think he necessarily is the strongest leading the pack, but he is strong in that second or third position and working his way, slicing and dicing through this this formation flying that we're seeing on screen right now.
And we're again backing down, but look what's happening on that bottom line. Goodman's still the leader, but Paul Jenkins, all of a sudden, has gone from the teens to second after 11 laps on this cycle.
It's been a nice rise up through the field for Paul Jenkins. The trick will be whether he's able to capitalize on it now. And the one thing I will say, Justin, is we've lost about 10 degrees of track temperature since the beginning of this race. I think that the bottom lane is starting to open up later on in this run, and you're starting to see drivers who have been hanging out down there, like Joe Branch, like Paul Jenkins, really starting to rise through this field now.
Begins trying the middle. Here comes the diamond to pick up the draft. Nick DeGroot trying to fall behind Jenkins. Again, side by side, not fully alone though. Want to take advantage of the run. Jenkins trying it again though, wants this lead. Be a rarity for his season. We've seen him involved in some incidents throughout the campaign. Here's Joe Branch's viewpoint as he watches the side-by-side in the midst of his side-by-side.
And just as I was saying that he wasn't doing a good job of getting through the field, somehow he suddenly finds his way all the way up to 4th position, and he's right behind his teammate, and he's got another teammate in Tony Showen, who is another of the EOL clubs that has joined him here. So suddenly we have 3 Powerslide Motorsports drivers in that top 7.
Tony Showen up 19 indeed. Points paying time closing, 34 to go this upcoming time bomb. Peek around, Joe Branch still running the bottom. Nick DeGroot trying to find clean air. The maid trying to follow the draft along the straightaway. And again, there is that run down the front. Remember, Goodman has to come in at about 20 laps. That's about 13 to go based on the math.
And that's assuming that he took a full tank, Justin. I think that you might see, especially if you're Joe Branch, I think you might have seen some of these drivers take less fuel on that last stop. Maybe look for them to come in with 25 to 20 to go.
Look at the team makeup, by the way. There is a wide variety of team differential in some of these cases here. You have some of these teams, mind you, outside of Powerslide, who have been trying to break through this season. Jenkins amongst them. An interesting way to close things out in this one, as Jenkins again side by side, evening out this time of the run.
Yeah, it's really tight stuff here at the front, and this is where you have to be very careful, because as the track temperature falls, your car feels better and better. You have to be able to adapt to that, make sure that you're not cutting it too fine, being too confident in your car, because you will start to feel that urgency with only 33 laps to go of having to make a move sooner rather than later. But you really have to pick when and where you make that move.
Interestingly, the window is open for one car, who is the 40 of Jim Herrick. He just pit after 16 laps, no other indications yet. It's keeping track, coming to 31 laps to go. 15 cars deep this main pack currently. What strategy you think is going to be the faster one, though, I think is a lot on people's minds here, because amongst those who took shorter stops, Joe Branch, Gabe Wood, Graydon Carter amongst some of those.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing a lot of cooperation here at the... Oh!
How about no cooperation under Goodman's wheel? Goodman nearly gets peeled off the bottom. There goes Jenkins to 3rd.
Yeah, there was not a lot of room there underneath Michael Goodman, and I'm not sure that that was the most advisable move there from Paul Jenkins, particularly with one pit stop still to go here. That was a very aggressive move that he made there. And I'm sure it not only made him a little bit nervous, but probably Joe Branch and a couple of the other drivers right behind him a little bit nervous as well. I was going to say that I think the optimal strategy here is to find a way to get yourself with as long as you're protecting your fresh tires at the end. I think you want to be in that sort of 20 laps to go mark. Let's look at that. It was never going to work, was it, Justin?
Yeah, that was not going to work unless he somehow was able to get himself on the apron. If we know, of course, not a possibility until the final lap per the rules, down the front only. By the way, for race control, during that window, apparent that Topograph and Andrew Wood had contact. That will be reviewed post-race. Topograph from it, 24th position. That's why he's out of the lead pack. Lap traffic is approaching, though. That's Jim Herrick, who we mentioned pit 3 laps ago.
And see, this is the danger, is because now suddenly the leaders have drafts, so they're going to be able to go quickly here for the next few laps. So you really don't want to find yourself having to come down pit lane if you're anywhere in this lead draft, and they are able to barrel up on the back of Jim Herrick here.
Coming to 25 to go. Herrick getting barreled by quickly, 10 miles an hour quicker. Herrick does have side pod damage. Looks like Goodman elected to take the top as well as Paul Jenkins. So does 3rd Nick DeGroot. Joe Branch electing to take the bottom before the run.
Yeah, Joe Branch has loved the bottom of this racetrack. I think he feels really comfortable there, but unfortunately he had to come up off the bottom to get around Herrick there, which he does successfully do. Herrick's starting to fall back through this field.
Side by side yet again. Goodman, 30 laps into his stint, most of this pack around 25 laps in. As there goes Herrick, pulling away and pulling off to the side down the middle of the straightaway. That lead in that on that bottom, still so advantageous though. Goodman's been playing it well. Matter is, can he keep this up with when the strategy slices come in?
Well, and I think the play here for Goodman is he only goes as far as he can keep the car on the bottom. As long as he's on the bottom, he's fine. But as soon as he starts to feel the car starting to slide up, just come down pit lane at this point. Get the fresh tires and get back out there and start lapping quickly again. Because I do think that there is two plays here. There's an overcut and there's an undercut. I think what you have to avoid here is being caught in the middle there.
More pit stops coming up. Matt Wagner, Jeff Hyson, Ricky Harden signaling this time. Matthew Short last time. Some of the drivers in the main pack are peeling as well as in the secondary pack. And another hard send and another issue for the pit lane for the Purple Blur.
Yeah, that was not quite as sketchy as we saw from some of the other drivers that we've seen, but definitely suboptimal there for that purple machine that you saw coming down pit lane there. But I think we're really going to start to see a lot of drivers take the option here to come down pit lane, especially with how many drivers have come down. You're really likely to come out in another drafting pack as well. With fresh tires, it's going to be a big advantage to those who are coming down pit lane right now.
Beating for Brian Beard this past time by, Creighton Carter, Mike Rigney also peeling. Evan Sanders already indicating he'll be coming in this upcoming time by, as well as Dakota DeMay. So the race first cars come in for their strategy, 19 to go. DeMay with a huge send in.
I think he just about got it slowed down there, but it was a close thing. Gavin Sanders was a little bit more tentative, and it cost him probably a couple of tenths of a second. But, I think Goodman is going to be coming down. So your leader is down this time by with 19 to go. So right about where I thought he might come down.
Early clip coming in, and Gabe Wood is following him. Gabe Wood trying the undercut call. Maid and Sanders just completed their service for reference. So that means Paul Jenkins is in the race lead. This for Paul Jenkins, one of the first times he's led this season. He's led laps his past 3 starts, and now looks to try and see if he can hold on. 17 to go, coming around 16, coming up.
And these drivers here, they've got to make sure that they're keeping up their lap times and that they are keeping track of the lap times of the drivers who have already come down. Otherwise, they could put themselves in a sketchy situation here. It looks like Joe Branch might be coming down pit lane this time by, but he's going to get held up on entry by Brian Beard, who had just exited pit lane.
Tony Schowen came in last time as well, by the way. Joe Branch comes in this time. 34 laps on his respective stint. There goes Schowen taking 32 laps on the stint. There's a look at where Goodman and Gabe Wood have cycled. Gabe Wood picked up ground. During this pit stop, he did not take tires. A 4.9 second stop.
Yeah, really interesting play, and I was wondering if we would see anybody try and make that happen. But you can see that he just doesn't quite have the tires underneath him, and it's allowed Nick DeGroot to get around him fairly easily there. I like the play because it'll get him closer to the front. I just don't know that it'll be a winning play, in that I just don't think he'll have the tires to contend with the likes of Goodman, who particularly drivers who can keep on that bottom lane. Joe Branch is coming out in contact, which is also really positive for that 28 car as well.
Impact still is Paul Jenkins, Matt Taylor, Andrew Wood, Nick DeGroot, Dean Ball, Trevor Malone, Ron Hacker, Gary Gosso, Shane Coogan, also yet to pit, as well as Graf and Hasser. No pit stops peeling in this time, it looks like, except for Tasser.
Matt Taylor has opted for the lead now, and I think he's realized that he needs to make sure that they're putting in the lap times, because it looks like Taylor is trying to go as long as possible here, just a quick splash and go. And if he does it for long enough, he might just be able to cut that stop even shorter. Oh, as we saw, this is the second time that Hassert has had an adventurous pit entry there.
Joe Hassert and pit lane, even better duel of enemies today. About 37 laps on these stints. Drivers can go to about 7 to go. Paul Jenkins just called over the radio he wants in. Andrew Wood trying to go all the way under the apron to build up a run for a moment.
And Jenkins does a good job getting out of the way there. He's going to come in pretty hot here, should get slowed down in time. But here's the real question is, will the likes of Jenkins take tires on this stop? Because I think the play for all these drivers who are staying out long here, they need to not take tires, because I think that the other pack is just going to have blown by them on pure pace.
Owen taking the outside line, no stops amongst them. 10 laps to go this time. Green flag running so far. Tires taken by Paul Jenkins this pit stop. That might cost him some time. To the other drivers, Tyra Graff also just ducked in. Here comes Beard to duck to the inside. Beard is on a different cycle after his speeding penalty, remember.
There's everything to play for, and I don't know how it's going to unfold here. It really is a tale of two different strategies that I don't think we saw, or I saw coming how disparate this could end up being, but it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top here in this final cycle. Looks like Matt Taylor might be coming down this time by.
Yes, he is. Matt Taylor sacrificed the race lead. 9 to go this time, and Trevor Malone wrecks it.
But crucially for Matt Taylor, Malone was able to keep it off of that number 8 car, because that was near disaster for that number 8 championship leader there.
The pit stops called over the radio this time. Andrew Wood amongst those. Wood backs it down. Dean Mull, Nick DeGroot keep up with Ryan Beard, coming to 7 laps to go. They are the final 2 drivers in contention for the win to pit.
By the way, if you're looking at what's happened for the drivers who've already stopped, you're looking at Tony Schowen and Gavin Sanders, but up in front of them, crucially, Michael Goodman has got a little bit of separation here, and I think he might be coming out right where, or right behind Matt Taylor. So, did Matt Taylor take tires, and is Michael Goodman close enough to that number 8 car for it to matter here?
That's the big thing, yes indeed. Taylor, no tires. Cycled ahead of Goodman, who did take tires. Right past Sanders, so it's down to Matt Taylor and Michael Goodman. The rest of the drivers, Gavin Sanders, Matt Wagner, Tony Schowen and company, they are about 2 seconds back of your race leader. 6 to go, closing around to 5 this upcoming time.
Dean Mull and Nick DeGroot are your final drivers coming out of pit lane here. Where will they blend out? They were coming out side by side, and fortunately we're able to get it all sorted out here, but they're going to slot in right in front of Goodman and Taylor. So Goodman is the driver with the fresh tires, but these 3 in front of him have the track position.
It looks like DeGroot has cycled to the lead. Taylor forced to the high side. Groot did not take tires, neither did Dean Mull. Down to the final 5 laps to work things out here from Kansas. Here comes Michael Goodman with the run. 214 miles an hour, nearly to the back end of the 23.
And look at how much more grip Michael Goodman has on the bottom lane there. He was just able to muscle his way underneath Dean Mull there, who just wasn't able to keep the car underneath him. This is really tricky stuff here for those drivers without the fresh tires. Will DeGroot be able to keep that car on the bottom, or will it be Michael Goodman snatching it away from him?
A huge cut to the inside. There goes Goodman. And here comes everybody else. Michael Goodman for the race lead takes it from DeGroot. Taylor on the outside building the run for second as the whole entire game builds up speed.
And for those keeping track of your championship hopefuls, Joe Branch has just moved up into 5th position in front of Dean Mull, and he's right behind Matt Taylor. So this is huge for the championship. If he can swing out in front of and get a result in front of Matt Taylor, that's going to put him in prime position come the finale in just under a month's time.
Big cut to the inside to Group. 2 laps to go from Kansas. 3 wide in the battle for third. Gavin Sanders coming up on top from it. He goes to the top group. Joe Branch gets around Taylor. Branch tries to hug the inside. DeGroot hugs the inside. They both move up. Nick DeGroot able to move up to the second line, coming to the white flag.
Joe Branch with the fresh tires. I think he's going to have the advantage on that inside lane. But look, here comes Matt Wagner. Where's he been this entire race? He's looking for a podium as well. We've got 1 lap to go, and everybody is on it right now. We've been caution-free, incident-free. It's been an amazing race. Take us home, Justin.
Coming down the back straightaway, Joe Branch trying to reach around the outside. Goodman hugging the inside. Wagner pushing up to the second line behind him. Down to a drag race. Goodman to the apron. Branch on the outside. Can't do it. Michael Goodman wins the Next Level Racing 200.
What a finish there, and what a race for Michael Goodman. We talked about the curse, and he has finally broken the curse, winning from pole position. It's the first time that's happened for Michael Goodman this season. It's the first time that it's happened at Kansas Speedway in Lionheart history, Justin.
Power slide 1-2 up at the point. Wagner rounding out the podium after a bad string of races. And Goodman is so excited, he is going around for a second celebratory cooldown lap.
And I don't blame him. After the season that he's had, he needed this win. He needed that result. It's great to see Michael Goodman sitting on top of a podium again. And Matt Taylor fades all the way down to 7th position. So with Matt Wagner all the way up in 3rd, Joe Branch in 2nd, that's major championship implications and disappointment. The strategy play did not work out for Matt Taylor.
Major swing in the points coming in the heart of the pack for the championship and for potentially how big the lead is heading to the double points finale next time out. But this time out, after so many heartbreaks, so many DNFs from the pole, Michael Goodman finally completes the race for a victory. 91 out of 133 laps led on the way to the dub. Let's take a look at your SimRace247.com unofficial race results. Michael Goodman beats his teammate Joe Branch by 0.035 seconds. Matt Wagner, Nick DeGroot, Tony Schauwen in the top 5, 3 of the top 5 from Power Slide. Race first in 6 with Sanders. Matt Taylor, the points leader in 7th. Noel, Gabe Wood, and Creighton Carter, your top 10. Carter DeMaine finishes in 11th. Paul Jenkins, who was in contention towards the final stops, finishes in 12th. Mike Rigney, Matthew Short, and Ricky Hart in the top 15. Watson and Andrew Wood inside the main pack as well. Tyler Kraft, Shane Coogan, and Ron Hacker, 10 seconds adrift. Trevor Malone, George Enzotto, and Craig Forsyth rounded the lead lap finishers, with Joe Hassert having disaster after disaster in the pit lane. He finishes 24th, a lap down. Jacob Ulster also picked up a speeding penalty early, finishes 25th. Brian Beard, Gary Gonso, Jeff Hyson, Jim Herrick, Gardy Wentz in the top 30. Herrick and Wentz amongst the DNFs, so is Samuel Ryman, a rare DNF for him this season, 53 laps down. Let's look top to bottom at the running order. That brings us into our post-race coverage, brought to you by HyperX. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX. There's premier gaming gear, electrometry, ultra comfortable, a line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows for all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. A wild finish to this one, and as Michael Goodman makes his way to HyperX victory lane, Andrew finally able to break the pole curse that he's had all season, and he does it over a teammate in style.
Yeah, that was a really, really well-run race from Michael Goodman. He did exactly what he needed to do, stayed in that lead battle for the entire race, and then when he needed to, he made the right strategy call, came down pit road just that little bit earlier, and it allowed him to get the separation that he needed, got the draft, and made the moves happen. That was some really excellent driving at the end there.
Goodman still making his way to HyperX victory lane. So we'll go reverse style for today. Third place went to Matt Wagner. And Matt, after what had been a curse of a past few weeks or so, a good finish today. Third spot for you. How are you feeling after your run tonight?
Oh, I'm feeling fantastic, actually. Man, that was really exciting race. Oh man, I wish I had another lap. Getting through that traffic, that was very, very tedious.
How would you describe then in turn your strategy call to get yourself in the conversation, because we did not even see you in the main pack until the checker flag?
Oh no, it was being conservative for the first part of the race. We were all talking strategy. Hey, if we quit pit early, wouldn't we gain a little bit time on these guys? But even though our tires would wear, a little bit later toward the end of the run, we thought about taking fuel only. We thought that was a very bad call. I think we would lose a lot more time. And wow, I'm just surprised that we got up to third. It was just overall, it was just fun racing. I can't describe these drivers. They're fantastic. I feel honored to drive with these guys.
With that, still in the conversation, mathematically entering the finale at Auto Club, your thoughts for the 150 lapper to close out the year?
Well, it's going to take a lot of luck about that. and to finish where I did in my adversary, I think he finished second, and I don't know where Matt finished. I have to look at the points now when they're updated. We'll take a look at it, and we'll start planning our strategy out for Auto Club. Of course, that's a double points race, so it's pretty much full on out to go max points here.
Well, congratulations on the run tonight. A top 3 for you to break from the previous streak of non-top 10s.
Thank you, sir. You have yourself a good night.
Once again, that's Matt Wagner having a good night. Joe Branch as well having a great night. Second spot for you, just shy of beating your teammate to the line. How would you describe the finish?
Ooh, 1-2. I'm happy about it. I was going for it, but wanted to race him clean. He deserved the win. Happy for Mike, and yeah, that was a fun finish. I mean, I had a run. I don't know, it just seemed to work out, and I was able to stick the bottom. I think because I ran it most of the race, so I kind of knew where I had to lift to keep momentum and where to keep it up, and it paid off at the end.
Absolutely. Your best finish, by the way, this season in terms of finishing position since New Hampshire. But when it comes to your perspective from the pack tonight, how would you describe that strategy take? Because we've seen many cases where it goes green and it becomes cutting the extra stop. Tonight had that different flavor. How would you describe that feel knowing it came down to the splash?
Oh, well, I knew no one was going to make it. If they were going to have to go way too slow, because I saved a lot on the first stint and still only went, I think, 42 laps. So it just wasn't going to be possible without caution. So I actually split up the last stint and short filled each time a little bit to just try to get out of the pits quicker. And I mean, I think it helped the life of the tire at the end of the runs, which is where I kind of was able to gain ground.
You're currently amongst the top 3 in points, entering the double points Triple Crown finale. What will it take for you to become the champion over Taylor as you chipped away a bit tonight?
Well, I'm in the game, so that's all I wanted to go into that race, and we'll see what happens. I would love to win a race, and these second place, these top 5s are fun. I want to win a race, but obviously a championship means a lot, so I'm just gonna try to be there at the end and go for the win.
Congratulations on the podium finish tonight, Joe.
Thank you guys.
Joe Branch coming away in second. And the man of the race, the HyperX Victory Lane participant tonight, Michael Goodman. After so many times on the pole, 7 poles with the race completions tonight included. 5 of those DNFs. Michael, this time you not only complete the race, you win the race. How does it feel?
That feels great. I tell you, I'm tired of watching these replays and having you guys bash the living daylights out of me, especially with that record for the polls and stuff like that and what my average finish was. But my last 3 races, including Iowa, which I didn't finish, were probably my best 3 races of the season so far. And obviously it came at the back end instead of starting at the front end, but everything feels good. Focused and really happy with the way I'm running.
Of course, the strategy was a major talking point of the night. You leading 91 laps, having to pit early. What was that strategy roulette like from your perspective as you had to slice your way up to the front of the end?
Well, I thought when I started seeing everyone hang behind me, I thought they were going to be able to save enough fuel to cut that last pit stop out. So when I saw that, I knew I just had to run straight out and do the best I can because I had to make that extra pit stop. And as you saw, the way the race played out is that it didn't matter how much fuel you saved, you still weren't going to make it. So I wasn't expecting that.
Well, of course, you've been the pole king of the season, already essentially locked up the most poles of the season with the 7 entering the Triple Crown finale. What's now the game plan to close things out strong now that you've gotten win number 1 of the season?
No, I basically, with the win tonight, I did everything that I wanted to do this season, besides obviously being able to run for a championship and stuff like that. But I wanted to win poles. I wanted to win races, and as far as the team points goes, I wanted to win the team points and stuff like that. So it looks like we're going to have a good. I'm going to be able to have a good chance of accomplishing those objectives.
That's good to hear. Congratulations on your first victory in the Speedway Series, Mike.
Hey, I appreciate it. Just want to give a thanks to my teammates and stuff like that. I want to give a thank you to you guys for doing awesome, commentary and stuff like that. I just want to give a thanks to George and all the admins for the league, duties that they do and whatnot. But thank you.
That's Michael Goodman, your race winner here at Kansas. Andrew, your final thoughts on tonight as, boy oh boy, did it deliver green flag to checkered. But we have one more race to go.
Yeah, I hate to close the chapter on Kansas so quickly after such an amazing race that we saw. It had a little bit of everything. It had the strategy. It had the drama for the win and the passes coming down the last few laps. But it's all about Auto Club in 3 weeks' time, isn't it, Justin? This is what it always comes down to in the Lionheart series. We always seem to have our championship deciders coming down right to the finale. And it's a reason because this series is just so competitive. And this track really suits a championship finale. It's going to be wide open, incredible side-by-side racing. Can't wait to see this in 3 weeks' time.
And be sure to tune in to see who comes away with the crown this campaign. On that note, I'd like to thank our partners for tonight's action. This coverage brought to you in part by Moser Racing. Moser Racing is revolutionizing sim racing, development of industry-leading hardware and software products like their R9 direct drive wheelbase and GS steering wheel. Featuring 0-8 wireless technology and made from high-end materials, Moser Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane. Tonight also brought to you in part by HyperX. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud9 gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. Tonight brought to you as well by Butt Kicker. You're passionate about sim racing. It always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can actually feel like it's like to drive a race car. Kicker hardware and software easy to install. Feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine red line. Tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, driving faster and having more fun than ever before. Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer, bringing the most immersive experience possible to the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level and visit www.nextlevelracing.com. And by Gomez Sim Industries. Gomez Sim Industries are makers of high-end esports equipment and controls. Precision built using nothing but the best materials available today. Passion, handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-order build. Drive an experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com. It's not just those 5 names, but so many more, and all the partners for the Lionheart Racing Series. To learn more about them, visit LionheartRacingSeries.com. You can also find out more information on 3 competitions the Lionheart sanctioning body runs. To mention, the next race will be taking place out in California, November the 14th. It's that covered at 10:05 p.m. Eastern. The next time Lionheart action hits the racetrack, a Kicker 150 at Gateway, presented by DeWardsCandy.com in the Retro Series, October 27th. Sure tune in at 10:05 p.m. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye for my broadcast partner tonight, Andrew Kinsella. Well, and Arjuna Kenkipati. I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And watching the Lionheart Speedway Series presented by Moser Racing from Kansas. Congratulations to your race winner, Michael Goodman from